Gary, round 19 against Collingwood at Victoria Park, a clash which was always going to prove pivotal in the context of our season, and unfortunately it was a pretty reasonable effort, but so close yet so far in a lot of ways.
Yeah, it probably was, Sam. Look, I thought we played some really good, powerful footy, and when you're playing against the probably best side in relation to consecutive wins, they'd previously won 10. Obviously, we'd planned a fair bit considering we had the bye, and I think from all that, tactically, what we threw at Collingwood, how we actually played, I think that generated some pretty reasonable footy. You get the opportunity, I guess, late in the first to grab the momentum back from Collingwood scored 4 goals, we'd scored 2. And then obviously from that point on, I thought till probably the 25-minute mark of the second quarter, you think maybe there's 5 or 6 minutes to go. You're going to be going in with what should have been, at least I felt, a 5-goal lead at half-time. Obviously then we made some really crucial errors, and they were able to convert, which a really good side does, because if you turn the ball over or don't make the right decision, you've got to understand that the opposition won't allow that to not be, I guess, worked upon. And we only went in at 1 point in front at half-time. So even though we'd done a lot of things right, we still were not, from a scoreboard point of view, further enough in front. And then in the third, we allowed them again through some really, I guess I'd probably say, fundamental and silly things, especially when we had possession of the ball, and they made us pay. We're able to again gather ourselves and get momentum back at three-quarter time. It was really, certainly, as we know on the scoreboard, close anyway. And then half of the last quarter, I thought we were holding our own, and probably in the end, Travis Cloke kicks 5 when a score of 12 goals to the opposition is pretty damaging, and he was probably the difference in the end.
We started off a little slowly and seemed to almost be a little reactive and rusty early on, which may have been attributed to the fact that we were coming off that bye last week. But then all of a sudden the game seemed to turn, and we really played it on our own terms for probably about half an hour, as you said, and played the type of footy which could certainly hold up in finals. However, the key will be just to maintain that standard for longer if we are going to compete against, you know, one of the best teams.
Yeah, and on reflection, I guess you do what you always do as a coach, and that is you chat to the players, and they were all saying that that was probably as close to finals type pressure, and the way the ball was moved from end to end, the amount of turnovers that probably both sides were actually executing was, I think, testament to how the game was played. Obviously, both sides think that they can certainly go reasonably deep in September. So from our point of view, we walk away and say, yes, we probably matched it with the best side. 2, we had them in a really interesting position. They're not going to sit around and just say, oh, look what Port Melbourne are doing. We're going to address what we needed to. And I thought clinical, efficient and more effective were probably 3 words that came into play, and that's why Collingwood won by 16 points.
And I thought our defence did an outstanding job for most of the day as a unit, but individually, Brody Mychek just continues to go from strength to strength, and he did a sterling job on who we know has been a star of the AFL competition in Travis Cloke. And it was probably a little unfair on poor old Brody that Cloke managed to snag those 5 goals, because it certainly wasn't a reflection of how well he played.
No, that's true, and look, there were times where Lucas Cook had him as well, so it wasn't exactly that Brody played on him for the full 120 minutes, but, you know, we talk about collective, and of course the team defence is obviously so important. I think sometimes our mids could have worked a little bit harder and not actually allowed that line to be, I guess, dismantled, and it's all about how we can work once the ball is obviously inside our forward 50 as well. And I thought at times we allowed the ball once again to come out with minimal effort, and that's just not how you're going to win a final or win a big game. So even though, as you said, there were areas that we improved in, there's still genuine opportunities that we create where I think we just have failed over the course of this year to capitalise on what I would say really easy opportunities. And that's a kick that hits a teammate, that's a handball that hits a teammate. It's about holding your width when you need that the opposition are going to rebound out of their defensive area. It's a lot of little things, and that's all footy is made up on. So basic fundamental footy, when it's executed and played well, gives you a maximum result, and we didn't do it for long enough on Saturday.
And we'll just quickly mention the Development League, who again had another fantastic victory. I know due to logistics you couldn't get to the game, but it must be pleasing to see them doing so well, and they really are on the cusp of securing that finals berth themselves now.
Well, you're right, and of course, considering the start that they had, and it was good to see Nick Dixon again play well. Fabian Brannacanisano had a good effort with 4 goals. Obviously, Alex Urban continues to be consistent. Timmy Knowles, the last probably 7 weeks, has been by far and above his best footy that he can play. Jake McKenzie's been really solid when he's had to go back there for whatever reason. So, again, we'll go to the selection table on Wednesday night and have a good look at it and think, well, we've always got an opportunity as selectors to say, can we make the side better? And that's how I chiefly pick the side. So we'll look at it once the dust settles on last weekend, and hopefully go down to Frankston with the best possible side in both grades and keep obviously the development team's finals chances alive, but also too for us to get a valuable 4 points after dropping it on Saturday.
Yep. And that game doesn't promise to be easy because I think it's Frankston's last home game for the year, so they're likely to be up and about, and they've actually been pretty competitive with sides like Footscray at home this season. So I know they're sitting near the bottom of the ladder, but it promises to be a really hard and hot contest.
Yeah, and there's probably really no relevance, I don't think, to obviously positions on the ladder because, as you quite rightly pointed out, Frankston have been super competitive. It's really only been sort of half a quarter or a quarter here and there, which really they've probably failed to actually win more games. But certainly we know that against the 2 VFL standalone teams, there's always, I guess, a little bit of rivalry in that, and we've got to go down there knowing it's going to be a huge challenge. I'd like to think that there's a lot that we can play for in relation to the next fortnight, and as you said, Frankston will want to give a good account of themselves because it is their last home game at home, obviously for season 2016.
Gary, thanks for your time as always on Borough TV.
Thanks, mate.